One of the returning exotics from D1, the Hunter exotic helmet, the Graviton Forfeit, has undergone a few changes upon its introduction into Destiny 2. Originally launching in the Taken King, the D1 Graviton Forfeit granted you the Shadestep subclass node for free, allowing you to use another node in the Nightstalker skill tree. For those who are unaware, Shadestep, or Dodge as it's known now, performed the same way as it does in D2, except it was on a much shorter cooldown, shorter to the point where you could dodge literally every 3 seconds. Anyway, was the Graviton Forfeit a solid exotic in D1? Not particularly. Having the dodge ability for free was nice, but you really weren't hindering yourself to just select that perk in the skill tree. So now in D2, what does the Graviton Forfeit do? The exotic perk Vanishing Shadow will increase the duration of your invisibility effects, and while you're invisible, your melee ability recharges faster. So this exotic requires the use of invisibility from our subclass, so we'll need to play as a Nightstalker, since that is the only subclass that provides invisibility. Both skill trees provide invisibility in different ways though, so let's head back into a patrol and do some testing. Using the Way of the Trapper skill tree, which allows you to go invisible from dodging, normally lets you cloak for about 2 seconds after dodging. With the Graviton Forfeit helmet on, this time extends to about 4 seconds, essentially doubling the amount of time you remain invisible. Also, while you're invisible, you can clearly see that your smoke bomb is cooling down at a faster rate. What about the other skill tree? The Way of the Pathfinder lets you cloak by throwing a smoke grenade at your feet, and with a base invisibility time of about 4 seconds, this extends to about 7 or 8 seconds. Remaining invisible for this amount of time is easily enough to get you out of the action and behind cover, or in the Crucible, it's enough time to flank the enemy without them being aware of your presence. Again, while you're invisible, your melee will cool down faster, but since you remain invisible for much longer with this skill tree, your melee has more time to cool down quickly. So we can see that both Nightstalker skill trees have utility with the Graviton Forfeit, but before we decide on which skill tree to use, let's finalise the build. The default mod on the Graviton Forfeit is a Void Paragon mod, which is a fine choice since we're working with a Void subclass anyway, although switching this out for a Resilience mod would also be a good choice. So we know we can use either skill tree with this exotic, but which tree is the better choice? Honestly, both trees have strengths and weaknesses in both PvE and the Crucible, so I guess it would be easier if I just analysed both trees. Starting with the Way of the Trapper, you can go invisible for about 4 seconds with the Graviton, but you're also getting the Keen Scout and the Deadfall perk, honestly the only perk that makes tether really useful in the game. In most, if not all PvE content, firing a single tether with high range, long duration, and great coverage is more worthwhile, not to mention more simple, than firing 5 or 6 weak tethers with miserable range, duration, and coverage. So to summarise Way of the Trapper, I would say it's a sound PvE choice, a good PvP choice, allows you to dodge for invisibility, which is quick and easy to do, but in regards to using the Graviton Forfeit, I would be more inclined to go with the Orpheus rigs with this tree. Definitely decent with the Forfeit, don't get me wrong, but since we're trying to get the most out of the invisibility build, I would suggest going with Way of the Pathfinder. Getting a very long invisibility time, along with a long grenade duration, makes this tree more appealing for the Graviton Forfeit. Throwing a smoke grenade at your feet is both slower and requires more precision than just dodging to go invisible. But since Gambler's Dodge will grant you a full melee charge for dodging near an enemy, you should have a lot of invisibility uptime with the Way of the Pathfinder. So now that we've got the build, places to use this. Going invisible in PvE can be a lifesaver at times, since it will allow you to sneak past enemies or revive a teammate in a bad spot. But in terms of general use, invisibility isn't too important. Unless you're playing solo, you probably won't need to go invisible for any public events. And in strikes, I'm sure your teammates would probably prefer if you just help them shoot the enemies instead of cloaking and running past them. In Nightfalls and raids, cloaking becomes much more useful as a defensive measure, but that's probably all it should be used for. You'd be better off dealing with the ads in Nightfalls and raids than constantly hiding from them, but if you really find yourself in a jam, going invis is a great way to get you out of trouble. So to summarise the use of Graviton Forfeit in PvE, a good choice for a lot of content, particularly the hardest content, but pretty underwhelming for the easier content. Alright, now for PvP. Going invisible can really give you the edge in encounters in the Crucible, since you can hide off the radar and sneak around the back of the map to flank your enemies. Also, just running into a 1v1 battle while invisible can give you the edge, since you'll find it much easier to hit the opening shot than your opponent. Again, both Nightstalker skill trees worked fine in the Crucible, but I had the most success with Way of the Pathfinder, since staying off the radar for 7 to 8 seconds gave me plenty of time to sneak around the sides of the map. I'd say though, if you're more inclined to play head-on, and would like the invisibility as a means of retreating or confusing more than flanking, then absolutely use Way of the Trapper in Crucible. So what do you guys think of the Graviton Forfeit? Do you rate invisibility highly in D2? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching guys.